Howdy, this is Tyler Blake from ExoWhips. This is part 2 on my series on crackers. So this is part 2A, I guess you could say, because this week I'm going to show you how to make a tapered cracker out of artificial sinew, and next week I'm going to do mixed blends of like, Dyneema and artificial sinew, and also a different length and setup up for a tapered cracker. So, but for this week, I'm just going to go ahead and hop right into it. I'm going to use 3 different colors on the cracker we're going to make today. Is that the most attractive cracker in the world? Probably not. But, it's kind of busy for me, but I'm hoping that everything will show up on camera this way. So we'll see how that goes. Okay, so my longest part of the cracker, I'm going to use the natural color, which looks an awful lot like yellow. And so this is the way I like to make crackers. For some people, this might be too long. That's totally cool. Partially because I'm using 3 different strands. I just like to have a lot of room for the taper to be in. I don't like to have it all crammed in. It just, I just don't like it. So, you can take this and experiment with it. I heavily recommend you take notes. Just like for any part of whip making, copious notes are your friend. Because if you do something right, you want to be able to reproduce it. If you do something that you're really not happy with, you want to be able to avoid that in the future, right? So, okay. So the first step is going to be that I'm going to measure off 96 inches here. So I need 8 feet of my, 8 feet of my natural color. So there's about 60, and I bet that's about 8 right there. And on last week I was talking about how I don't measure for my standard crackers. For these I do. Actually, for these I would say the measurements are fairly important. Because when you're building the taper, you need to have things in somewhat precise locations. Not like electron microscope precise, but... Okay, so I have 8 feet of yellow sinew here, and at least from where I'm sitting, it seems like that's showing up pretty well. Okay, so I'm going to fold that in half, just like I did with the standard simple cracker last week, and I'm going to tie a doubled up overhand knot there. Come on, you. Okay. So now I have, something closer to a 4-foot loop. Okay. Okay, so now I'm going to measure 22 inches of black, and also I'm going to measure 22 inches of the red. Actually, I'm going to give myself a little bit of crap. I hope I can find the end of this spool. Does that ever happen to y'all with artificial sinew where the end just like totally blends in with the rest of the spool? Oh, here we go. Okay, so I'm going to go 25 inches, just so, because I don't remember. It's been a little while since I did one of these, and I don't remember if I had enough room to really tie the knots well. So 22 is what I have written in my notes, but if I decide this is better, I'll just cross that out and write 25. If I have a lot of extra, 3 inches, whoop-de-doo. But if I have extra, then I'll just circle 22 so that next time I know that it needs to be 22. Okay. So, and when I was figuring this out, it took me, I did this a couple times before I found lengths that I liked. When I first started doing it, and I'm always telling people to, I'll get questions on the Whip Basics forum, or I'll get emails from people, and I'm always telling people to take notes on everything they do, but I'm bad about following my own advice sometimes, and the first 2 or 3 of these I didn't take notes on, and then I was like, how long did I do that? So, just, it'll make it a lot easier on you if you do that. So I'm going to do this in 7-inch increments. So I'll start off with the black here, and from this knot, 7 inches down, I'm going to tie the black on. So there's 7 inches on the natural sinew from the end, and I'm just going to do another doubled overhand knot. Now, in the twisting, this is going to become more secure, right? But in the meantime, what I like to do is, so I'm going to go around once and twice, because I don't want that to come out. I'm going to pull that, and with the sinew, these will slide back and forth, but it's 2 waxed surfaces. So before I glue it, see now it kind of moved up to 8. So what I like to do is just slide that. Okay, so now it's at 7, and I'm just going to pull that tight. Take my super glue and put a little dab of super glue on there. And I like to do it with the knot kind of under, and you probably won't be able to see this on camera, but I want the glue to kind of run down inside there. And then I usually, when I'm doing this, I keep, kind of work it around a little bit, make sure it's contacting both surfaces, and then I just take a paper towel and kind of dab that so that I'm not getting it all over the carpet and making a mess. So that's going to hold that in place, and then when we twist it with the drill, that's going to kind of lock that in too. So, okay. Now I'm not going to tie the other end yet. So I'm going to go another 7 inches from this knot that I just tied here. And when I get to that part, right here, now I'm going to take the red and start it, okay? Now I'll check my distance again. So I've got a knot at 7 and just past 14. So now it becomes a little bit more complicated to move these around once you get both of them on there, but that's right at 14 now, so I'll do a little bit of glue on there. And so that red knot is also securing the black to the yellow, along with, so it's kind of securing all 3 together. And I want to make sure that the black and the yellow are tight here, so I can just kind of tug on that a little bit and pull it through the red, and then secure this. Okay, so because the black is the shortest one now, I want to tie that around the red, so and just like I did here, that will also help to secure the red to the yellow. So make sure I measure that. So right here at 28 inches. So I'm going to say it was good that I went 25 inches because I don't think I would have had enough room to comfortably tie these knots if I didn't do that. So I'm going to make a note in my notebook that needs to be 25 instead of 22. Always better to have extra than not enough. Okay. So a little bit of super glue there. I don't think I dabbed this one, so I will now. Okay. I'm gonna go and do this one. There we go. Okay. Something I like to do too is to temporarily fold that in half, and what I want is for these not to line up perfectly with each other. You know, it's supposed to be a taper that's even, so I want these to be about halfway between one another. So looks like I'm doing pretty good. I almost always get these a little bit off, but I've always, when I get to cracking it, I'm always happy with the end performance, so that's what counts. I'll be a smart guy. So I'm hooking, now I have both ends hooked on there, and I can get a better idea of where that final drop is going to be. So that needs to go about halfway between this knot and this knot, except it's going to be on the string, right? So I'm going to do that right there. Okay. Bring it back this way a little bit. Okay, so with 3 strands, and the yellow one is folded in half to begin with, that gives us 1, 2, 3, 4 steps down from having the thickest part to the thinnest. And so now I can just go ahead and twist it on the drill in exactly the same way we did last week, except I still need to glue this one. And I'm gonna, I think it's probably better to trim the extra knots, or the extra tails off before you twist, so it doesn't add bulk if it gets kind of twisted up inside. Okay, so I have hopefully this is all showing up well on camera. So I have that in secured. And because this is a longer cracker than what we did last week, actually this would be a good thing for me to make a note of because I never really have. I count to 7 on the simple crackers, and I'm going to count to 10 on this, and we'll see how it goes. I really do not remember what I did last time, and I didn't write it down. So there I go again. So here we go. That actually looks a little bit too tight because it's starting to kink already all the way down. So I'm going to put that in reverse and back it off for about a second and a half. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and go with that. So that's not exact or anything. So I'll put down that I'm going to count to 8.5 on, and I'll try that with my next one. So both ends are off. I'm gonna secure that to the hook about halfway down. Bring these two ends together, so I've got a good firm grip on that. That end comes off the hook. Oops. Very tired. Okay, so when I let go, that's just gonna twist up. On the Tapered Crackers, I don't know if it's because there's more material, but it seems to me like it's quite a bit slower, so I just kind of do that to help it along. And there you can see, hopefully, well, before I do that, I'm gonna go ahead and get the end knot tied on here, which is done exactly like you would on a normal cracker. So it's for me personally, I use a blood knot. So I'm going to go up. I'm going to follow the direction of the spiral around twice. Pull it down. Okay. And then on this one, because if I clip that right at the knot, that's a little bit shorter than I like for my tassel. So I'm going to attempt to untie this knot here so I can leave myself a little bit more room for fluff. Oops, excuse me. It's a little bit hard to describe. I usually just tell people that it feels a little bit smoother using a tapered cracker. This may or may not come out okay. Okay, here we go. I'm getting there. I might edit this out if seems like a drag on the video. Okay, so that gives me quite a bit more room for fluff. And remember, this is where I folded the initial strand in half. So that's a closed loop. So that's where I'm going to trim this down to. So I'll just put my scissors in there and then trim off that little bit there, and I have a nice long tassel, and I have a nice tapered cracker that is kind of tutti frutti colored. But this would be a really nice performing cracker. Having the two extra strands just kind of gives this some more weight and density, and I think it just kind of carries the natural taper of the balance of the whip down from the thong and the fall into the cracker, and I guess that's why it feels better to me. And most of the people that I have sent tapered crackers to have said, yeah, I like those better too. As you can see, it takes longer to make, so it's a little bit more of a hassle, but it sure is nice. I did some cracking practice today on my way home from work, and I got my whip, which is one of my academies that I kept for myself. I totally got it muddy. Here in Western Washington, we have a park just down the street from our house, and when I was walking through the grass to get to the spot where I crack, it was, it just makes the sloshy, squishy sound, and the grass will look nice from a distance, but when you're walking on it, you can feel your feet sinking down because it's just the ground gets totally saturated here. So I'm still not probably gonna. I mean, I don't know. I might. Maybe if I get a nice enough day, I'll shoot a video at the end of this series that kind of shows how the different crackers we've been doing compare to each other, so you can hear the sound. But anyway, that's it for this week. And again, next week is going to be a blend of Dyneema and artificial sinew, and also kind of a different length, simpler tapered cracker. So thanks for watching. I'm Tyler Blake with Exowhips. Y'all go make something awesome. Bye.